It's so easy to root against an evil billionaire, and I'm never gonna get tired of it. Hello, my name is Adriana, and today I will be reviewing The Sixth Extinction by James Rollins. So this is the 10th/9th book in the Sigma Force series. That is actually something interesting I kind of learned when I went to the Seattle Comic-Con a couple months ago and got to meet James Rollins once again in person. He was talking about like starting this series with like a new fan, and he said he thinks of the start of the Sigma Force series as Map of Bones and Sandstorm as more of like a prequel. To me, this is the start of the series. This is where we're introduced to, I guess it makes sense that he does include this as a prequel because it really only has one of the characters that we like continue on with in the series, versus this one introduces at least 3, if not 4 of the characters we continue on with through the rest of the series, and an ensemble cast of like 6-ish. So I can see why he considers this the first, but to me, if I'm recommending people actually want to start this series and finish it all the way through, that they start with Sandstorm. So, like I said, to James Rollins, this is the 9th. To me, this is the 10th in the Sigma Force series. The Sigma Force series is scientist with guns, is the pitch that it gets thrown out there, and I think it's very apt. I think if you are intrigued by the idea of scientists with guns, you will not be let down with what you get. And again, going off on a little bit of a tangent, I also have this book in mass market paperback because I prefer reading paperback versus hardback. But this cover is the one that Deadline, I believe, used as like their cover photo when they released the story that this series was going to get picked up by Amazon for a TV show. So part of me wonders if they're going to like start in the middle of the series or if they just picked this cover out of a hat. I'm very excited about the TV show. There hasn't been a lot of updates since the initial like Deadline report that it had gotten picked up by Amazon and by like another studio that Leonardo DiCaprio is like the head of or like owns or something. So like there is some good money behind it. I'm going with like the fact of like no news is good news. Again, when I was talking to James Rollins at the Seattle Comic-Con, he said they were getting ready to start casting. Haven't seen them release anything about casting yet, but the show is still happening, I believe, to the best of my knowledge. And I don't know if it's going to be based off of this book or if it's starting earlier in the series. I don't know. Let's talk about this book specifically and stop going on tangents. This is the first book of my Sigma Force reread that I've actually remembered plot points. And to me, this book and the next book, I guess starting with the last book, starting with The Eye of God, which is number 9, this one at number 10, and The Bone Labyrinth, number 11, like this is probably like peak era Sigma Force for me. Like these were all released when I was like late college, like early in my career. These were literally the only books I was reading at that time. Like I would get a new Sigma Force release and that was my one book I read for the year before I got back into reading. These books mean a lot to me. And you know, this one's sitting like square in the middle of what I believe is like peak Sigma Force. I just really felt that the whole time I was reading it. Every page I was reading, I was like, yes, this is exactly what I want. This is exactly what I think of when I think of Sigma Force. Immaculate. I love it. And you know, actually remembering plot points made it feel much more like a reread than any of the previous ones that I remembered literally nothing from. So with that, let's jump into my non-spoiler review for The Sixth Extinction, starting with the synopsis. I'm literally just going to read you the back of the book because every time I try to write my own synopsis and it's just not great. Like I'm not that girl to write you a synopsis. So I'm going to read you the blurb. We're going to talk about it. It's going to be great. A military research station buried in the remote Sierra Nevada mountains of Northern California broadcasts a frantic distress call that ends with a chilling order. There's been a breach. Fail-safe initiated. No matter the outcome, kill us. Kill us all. When Park Ranger Janet Beck arrives with her search and rescue dog Nico to investigate, she discovers that all of the scientists in the lab are dead and every living thing for 50 square miles is annihilated. Animals, plants, insects, even bacteria. The land is completely sterile. and the blight is spreading. Only one team on Earth has the scientific knowledge and military precision to handle this mission: Commander Gray Pierce and Sigma. As Pierce and his team race to decipher millennia-old secrets, they face their greatest challenge yet: stopping the sixth extinction, the end of humankind. So, as per usual, we have a world-ending threat. It is up to Sigma Force and the team to get after it. We will start our review with characters because that's what keeps drawing me back to this series, is I love these characters. Again, in this era of Sigma Force, kind of the formula that he follows is to introduce a new character that is just for this specific book. Usually this is kind of a audience insert, someone that they can speak all of the techno babble to and like break it down in a way that the audience can understand. And in this book, that is the park ranger Jenna Beck. She, much like the young scientist in the last book, I think is an incredible character. You know, a sharp, competent, good instincts, just really fun to read about and to like use as an insert character for the audience. And she has her search and rescue dog, Nico, who's a husky, and is just like the perfect amount of like normal ass dog. Like the last book I read in this series was one of the, I guess not technically part of the series, but an offshoot of the series that is with like a military dog. And the military dog is like so smart and so well trained that it feels like another human character. Nico is not that dog. He is regular dog, like getting into trouble, lunging after things he shouldn't be getting. And it's fun to be able to just have like a regular dog in this series and have him act like a dog that I know and would interact with, rather than like the super highly trained military dogs that have been in the past couple Sigma Force books I've read. So yeah, those two like one and done characters I love a dog character. I love a strong, independent woman who is not like crazy, not outside the realm of believability of like, she is just a regular person. She is not one of the Sigma Force operatives. She is not going to be the one like doing hand-to-hand combat. She's just out doing her thing, surviving the best she can, but also being helpful in a lot of ways. So jumping into the lack of a character that I am sorely missing is my Seishan. It's pretty normal that she kind of like comes in and out like every other book. So, you know, that's fine, but I missed her. Of course, we have our main character of our ensemble cast, that is Commander Gray Pierce. He is in every single book. He is the main character. He is our main character. We do get like a little bit of development with him as far as his relationship with his dad, who's been struggling with early onset Alzheimer's. Is it early onset? I don't remember. I don't remember how old his dad is supposed to be, and I don't know when the early onset cutoff is for that. But his dad has Alzheimer's, and it's rough on him and his family, as it would be. In this book, we mostly see him, you know, trudging around Antarctica, which is where we like to see him, out doing the thing. Another fun thing about this book is that it's almost kind of a throwback to what I consider the first book of the series, Sandstorm, where Painter Crow, who is the kind of head director of Sigma Force, is actually stepping down and is working as a field operative. So it's really fun to see him working as more on like boots on the ground kind of guy. He just happens to be out on that side of the country when things go crazy, so he is helping to direct stuff, and since he's already there, he ends up doing some extracurricular stuff as well. Love seeing him like out in the field again, doing his thing, really seeing why he is in the position he is in. He is not just like a desk jockey. He is a very accomplished operative in his own right, as well as seeing his lovely fiance Lisa, who is a doctor and gets involved in Sigma Force just via her fiance. But again, extremely accomplished doctor, is very helpful in this book. And I think the last character I want to hit on, of course there's tons of characters, there's always a ton of characters in these books, but the last one I think really is like a pusher and mover in this plot is Jason. So he was introduced a few books ago, but he's always been like kind of a B-list character. He is just someone who works back at headquarters and helps with like information analyst sort of things. But because part of this plot takes place in Antarctica and he grew up in Antarctica, both of his parents are like explorers, scientists, researchers. I don't know, it's somewhat vague. He ends up kind of helping the team down there because he has experience in that setting. And it's really fun seeing him like go out and do things. You're just like, oh, he's so cute and small. How is he doing operative things? But he's doing very well and it's very fun. So again, I've talked a little bit about the settings that we've been kind of exploring. We have the national park in the Sierra Nevadas. That is obviously very fun. Somewhat on my coast of the country, not really, but you know, fun to see kind of that more national park setting where it's a little more remote, a little bit harder to get resources, like seeing how they interact, and especially with this super secret laboratory like up in the mountains and how that kind of all goes down. Very cool setting, very much enjoy that. We also have Antarctica as a setting. Antarctica is something that I've actually been a lot more interested in as of lately. Like, I really want to do one of those Antarctic cruises. I want to like check that out more. So getting to hear a little bit more about like what that looks like and some of the research stations in Antarctica. Cool. And then the final setting that we hit like further along in the book is the Amazon rainforest. Obviously a very, very cool setting. We don't get to spend too much time in there. Again, we end up in another like secret laboratory type setting, which it's like, I'm now realizing that like every single setting of this book is a laboratory. Like we are just heavy in labs, this book. But I love a lab. I love science. I love a laboratory. So jumping into plot, I don't want to speak too much to the plot because I don't want to speak spoilers in this part. I will speak a little bit on spoilers just because this is one of my favorite plot points. But non-spoiler for now. We have this existential threat going through. It's like this indestructible virus. They can't figure out what it's made of, why they can't destroy it. It's just decimating everything in its path. We're racing the clock of either trying to find a cure or fighting with some of the military that decide they're just going to try to nuke the whole area, but they don't even know if that will work. So there's just a lot of tension against this virus, and it's crazy. There's also like a little bit of a historical element as far as like Antarctic exploration and how that ties into it. It's a very loose connection. This one's definitely more of like a science-focused book, which honestly, like I always say, the thing I like about these books is like the integration of like the historical element and the science element. But I think for the most part, my favorite books have always been much more science heavy than the history part. So the fact that this doesn't have as much of that history element, I'm not upset by it. And then, you know, as always, we have a mega billionaire rich bad guy, and it's great. I love a billionaire baddie. It's so easy to root against an evil billionaire, and I'm never gonna get tired of it. So with that, I think I will jump into spoilers. If this is where I lose you, definitely go check this out. It is one of my favorites in the series. Read the rest of it and then come back and we'll talk spoilers in the comments. Now that all of the people who don't want to be spoiled are gone. The main plot point of this book that I actually remembered is that the main bad guy wants to use this indestructible virus shell and insert his own virus that like dumbs down the human population to try to save the human race, not the human race, to try to save the planet. So he is determined that the only way to defeat climate change is to dumb people down and basically erase civilization. So he has basically this contagious lobotomy that he can put into this indestructible virus shell that will bring people's intelligence down to that of an animal. And it's something I think about all the time. I think this book came out in 2014. I would have read it you know, either 2014 or 2015, like right in there in the time it came out, I have thought about this plot probably at least once a week. What that would actually look like in order to, you know, stop all CO2 release, allow nature to heal, really reverse climate change. Part of you is like, is he wrong? But then you actually think about it and you're like, yes, he is wrong. Like, regardless of what humans do to the planet and nature, like the planet and some form of nature will live on past humans. It is very arrogant to think that the only way to save the planet is to dumb humans down. In reality, I don't even know if it would work because there's just so many people. Like, you're just gonna dumb all these people down to animals and they're just everywhere in every ecosystem. I don't know. I don't even think it would work, but it is something I think about all the time. There is so much focus on like class and class structure and class struggles within this book. There's always like a billionaire evil bad guy, which is fun. But even like the bad guy's like main henchman is like this guy from the landed gentry whose family like lost all their money, but there's technically still like of the nobility. And so he's working for this evil billionaire bad guy, thinking he's going to get this huge payout and be able to like bring his family back to prominence, not knowing what the actual plan is. All of these bad guys are like these people who think that they're like the top of this hierarchy, and like our good guys are like a dog that is sick, a park ranger who is probably barely making minimum wage, and just the empathy that you see from our good guys who are in a much lower tax bracket than our bad guys is just, it's good. It's obvious, it's not like particularly nuanced, but I enjoy it, especially in comparison to like survival of the fittest that we see a lot in this book, a lot of like evolutionary talk. What does it actually mean to be in a food chain, to be at the top of a food chain versus the bottom? I think James Rollins was really cooking with this book, and I really appreciate it. So with that, I think those are all of the thoughts I have on this book. If you comment, I will probably have more thoughts to give because that's just how my brain works. But I definitely think you should check this out. If this does end up being what the TV show is based on, you're definitely going to want to check it out before the TV show comes out, and probably read books 1 through 10 and the spin-offs and the short stories. So let me know if you have questions. And thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next video.